Hello, everybody. Dan DeFedericis from Saratoga Report, and we've got a special guest on today. I'm here with Trent Wagler, the lead singer, guitarist, and banjo players of the Steel Wheels, which is playing this Sunday, April 2nd. Cafe Lena is presenting them at the Spa Little Theater. That's a venue I've never gotten to, and I really want to, so I hope to make it that evening. It's my wife's birthday, Trent, so I'll have to juggle a little bit. Trent, welcome. And let me, my first question is, have you ever played at the Spa Little Theater, Cafe Lena, or Saratoga?
Cafe Lena, we've played a number of times
Okay.
and absolutely love it. Yeah, and Saratoga Springs, I mean, what a beautiful town. We also played outdoors at the Performing Arts Center at
SPAC.
some point. Yeah, yeah.
That's a
That was
big
all.
deal around here that you played at SPAC. I mean, it's a big deal that you played at Cafe Lena as well, but you played at both. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a really
And
cool, yeah, amazing venues. Yeah. hmm
well, I started playing a couple of your YouTube videos on the Saratoga Report website, so people can get a feel for your music. You've already got a bit of a following here because you're at the bigger venue, not the smaller one, and that says a lot. So, folks, get tickets. And I'm gonna let me see here. I've got I'm a one man mad band here, so I got to do all the bells and whistles
There you
on my
go.
own. Trent, hey, listen, describe your music. I see it. I know this it has bluegrass influences, but it's more than that. It's deeper than that. It's evolved from that, right? You come from the Virginia mountains, I understand. Could you describe your music in your words?
Sure. Yeah, the band, we got our start centered in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. And so we were initially very influenced by string band music, mountain music, but we were always interested in writing our own stuff and creating our own music. And it's really, I would call it folk rock at this point. You know, we have a variety of influences that we bring into the sound these days. We have a great drummer and percussionist in Kevin Garcia, who's actually he lives up in New York City and Brooklyn these days. We're kind of spread out at this point, and that's a good metaphor for some of the influences of the band. So you still have the fiddle and the banjo, but there's just as much electric guitar and drums and electric bass in the mix as there is acoustic instruments these days. And so we try to, we try to stir that pot of all those influences and create something that really feels fresh and new to us while also tipping our hat to those influences that came before us.
That's great, and I feel the energy in your videos, some of them from live events and so forth, and it's
Mhm.
just incredible energy. You must feed off that.
Yeah, I mean the live show is always, what it's about. I think we have spent some time in the studio in the last few months, and it's really exciting to have new music to bring to the stage and be able to experiment and experience for the first time. And so we're glad and excited to bring that to Saratoga this time. But I think, that live show, there's nothing quite like it. And you really do. There's a feedback loop of energy, like you said, that comes from the crowd. You take that in and it really does charge and change, even if you're playing the same chords or you're singing the same notes. Each night really has a new life and it depends on the crowd. So we've always had a good time up there at Cafe Lena, and our friends that are up and around that area have always been really kind to us, and it's always been a good point for us to continue to, I don't know, develop our sound on stage by being there. So I'm excited to get to the theater.
It's funny, I brought up the word energy, and you look wide awake. I looked at your concert schedule; it is daunting. Oh my God, you guys are up and down the East Coast, Carolinas, Maine, every state in between. Did you travel on a bus? How do you guys get from place to place?
We have one of those big, tall, long vans that is almost bus-like, um, but yeah, we've got a good crew on the road. Together, we share the load when it comes to driving and taking those responsibilities. And yeah, the schedule. I mean, in a way, we're kind of thankful that we can build that schedule up again after a couple years where it was pretty meager with some of the complications revolving around COVID, and so I think we're excited still. It still feels fresh and feels. There's that feeling. I think everybody who, the first few times you went out after kind of being isolated for a couple years, there was that feeling of just the amount of appreciation you had to be out. And I think our band still really feels that every time we get back out on the road after a small break. It's just sort of like, oh, we get to do this again. I have such a
Yes.
gratitude for that. So yeah, it's a lot of dates, and we've got a lot coming up. But I mean, we're fortunate. It's a great way to see the country. It's a great way to see the seasons change.
Right.
I'm hoping we see a little spring up there. It may be early. Maybe it's mud season. I'm not sure. What's the
We've had a mild winter, a few spots of snow and stuff, but we're into spring now. So hopefully, I haven't looked that far ahead. I should, because I got a birthday party for my wife that day. But I haven't yet. And you brought up COVID, and that segues me perfectly, because I've read about this, and I don't want to describe it because I don't know if I would do it justice. Explain everyone a song. You're the two albums, correct? Could you
Yeah,
explain
we
that to
did.
me?
Absolutely. We started a project pretty early. I would say it was probably April of 2020 that we kind of conceived of the idea when everything, of course, was being canceled, and we were trying to figure out, what is our next move when we can't be touring. We created this idea of everybody's going to be still doing or trying to do activities that they're going to be canceling and changing, and maybe we can add a song in instead of the gathering. Maybe instead of having the big graduation party you were going to have, what if we wrote a song to help kind of make that moment meaningful, or a big birthday or a big anniversary? People were canceling everything left and right. And so we created everyone a song as that. Send us your stories, send us your idea, and we'll try to write a song for the moment and for you. And it became a really great way for our band, who, again, we're spread out geographically anyway. But when we couldn't come together and we were trying to stay as safe as possible for our own families, we started recording songs and sending all those files back and forth. And so over the course of the two plus years, we wrote over 75 original songs for, single people's stories. Some of those were for weddings, some of those were for funerals, some of those were for everything in between. And out of those 75 original songs, we then pared it down to, yeah, a volume one and volume two that we released to the public, because we realized, boy, we've been creating all this music and we're not letting any of the rest of our fans even hear it. And some of our favorites we wanted to at least put on a record for people. So yeah, we're playing some of those live. Everyone has a specific story, every one of these songs, and it was a very special way to connect to fans and connect fans and their families to each other in some cases. We did also, if people really love that project and love the stories, we actually created a partnering podcast during that time that was called We Made You a Song. And that goes through every one of the songs that we released on the albums, interviews the people we took the story from. It talks to the band about the process of creating the songs. It was quite a process. And so each of those little episodes goes into that. If people really want a listening companion and can't get enough of the Steel Wheels, then that's a great way to really do a deep dive.
And that's great, folks. Again, April 2nd, that's this Sunday at 7 p.m. at the Spa Little Theater. The tickets are on the Cafe Leno website. And Trent, any last words for someone that this is an exciting event. You've got a following here already, and I think you're going to get a bigger following. Yeah, any last words for those that aren't familiar with you, why they might want to come?
I think, every year when we get to this point in the year, I think we sort of need a jump start to get outside and get our activities rolling. Some of us feel still a little bit of that doldrum from the winter. And so I think beginning of April, a little bit before Easter, it's a great time just to get out, come and listen to some music. While we are from the South, we're from Virginia, we bring a lot of different things to the table: harmonies, instrumentals, some rock and roll, some soulful vibes. So come and give us a chance. It'll be a lot of fun.
Great. Real quick, I want to edit there, but I still want to say you said rock and roll, and someone who heard you describe it felt a little bit like the Doobie Brothers. And I'm sure you get different band, different comparisons a lot. Do you ever feel that way? Do you ever think of that? Do you agree
I
with
mean,
that?
that's a
When you're saying?
great comparison. I personally don't wouldn't say that's one of our biggest influences necessarily, but I'll take it. Yeah, I think they're a great
Excellent.
band. So
Excellent. Trent, thank you. Man, safe travels to you,
thanks, Dan.
hopefully we get some spring weather here, that you can drive easily up I-87 to get here. And we hope you enjoy your limited time, because we know you're going to have to get back on the road. We hope you have a great event, and a little bit of time you have in Saratoga, we hope that's wonderful too. Thanks for joining us, Trent.
Thanks, Dan. Good to talk to you.
Take care.